Hello everyone. So I'm going to make a really short video on standard form of the straight line equation. So up until now we've looked at the gradient intercept form, where essentially we are writing the equation of our straight line in the form of its gradient and the y-intercept. So the c here we said was our y-intercept, where the line is going to cross the y-axis, so at this point here. And the m is our gradient, the rise over the run, right? So the slope, the change in y over the change in x. So if I had 2 points, the gradient will be the change in y over the change in x. It would tell me how steep this line is. Sometimes a question will expect you to write the equation of your line once you've worked it out, once you've calculated it, and let's say you found that the equation of your line was 2x minus 1. And the question is going to say, for the very final part, it would want you to write your equation in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0, and it will specify where a, b, and c are integers. So, firstly, you need to recall that integers are whole numbers. Which means once you have manipulated this equation, then a, b, and c have to be whole numbers. Now, luckily for us, in this first example, we're dealing with whole numbers already, so that should not be a problem. But essentially, all I want to do is I need to get 0 on one side of my equation. Now, if I start with y equals 2x minus 1, then on the right-hand side, obviously, I have 2x minus 1, and on the left-hand side, LHS, left-hand side, I've got y. So all I want to be doing is I want to take this side and I want to move it over there so that I have 0 on the right-hand side. And that just requires a little bit of algebra skills, which you are familiar with already. So in order for me to get rid of the 2x here, I need to take away 2x, which means I need to do the same on the left. And in order to get rid of the subtract 1 or the negative 1, I need to plus 1 on the right, which means I need to plus 1 on the left. And therefore, rearranging this into standard form, I will end up with y minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. And that is exactly what I have been looking for, what the question asked me to find. Note that it does not matter that you have y first and then x and then your constant, as long as it's in the form where everything is on the left and 0 is on the right, and a, b, and c are integers, then that is okay. So let's look at another example. Let's say you found, let's do this example too, you found y to be equal to 1/4 x minus 3/2. That was the equation of your line, and you saw there your gradient is 1/4, your y-intercept is negative 3/2. But you want to write this in standard form because that's what the question is asking you. It's asking you to write it in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are integers. So I want to move all of this to one side. But before I do this, I notice I've got a fraction, and I have a fraction there. So it's just really handy before I move it to undo that fraction. And so what I'm going to do is I want to multiply by the highest common by a number so that I undo the denominators. So I know that if I times 1/4 by 4, it will give me 1. And that means I need to multiply 3/4 by 4, 3/2, apologies, by 4, which will cancel, right? And I will get 6. or I can just do 3 over 2 times 4, which gives me 12 over 2, which is 6. So in order to turn these fractions into integers, I'm going to times that by 4, and I need to do the same there, times by 4 and times by 4. So I'll get 4y is equal to x, 1x, because a quarter times 4 is 1, minus 6, because 3 halves times 4 will give me 6. And now I can rearrange. So in order to rearrange, I want to move all of this to that side, which means I'm going to subtract x and I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And so I will be left with 4y minus x plus 6 equals 0. And there you go. That's kind of how you work with this. I hope that was useful. If you have any more questions, give me a shout.